I stopped a wedding with a public school uniform and a $20 recorder, said the bride couldn't get married because she lied to everyone and watched 300 people forget how to breathe in the same second. That was St. Augustine Chapel in Savannah, Georgia, the marble glowing like money, the kind of place where whispers act like laws. I didn't show up to be brave. I showed up to say the thing nobody with a badge or a tux seemed willing to say, and once the words left my mouth, there was no putting them back. My name is Lena Cruz, my mom is Marisol, and for years she cleaned the executive floors at Drake Horizons, while the city slept riding freight elevators that smell like lemon and rust, coming home with raw knuckles and a soft laugh that made our tiny kitchen feel big. When you're the cleaner's kid, you learn to see through glass without touching it. You learn the sound of leather soles at midnight and which doors lock on principle. The Thursday before that wedding, Mom got knocked down by a fever that turned her skin to paper, and I said I'd run the easy stuff so she wouldn't lose hours, so I took the bus. Flashed a smile at the night guard who knows my mom's coffee order, and went up to floors where light hums like it has secrets to keep. That's where I heard Evelyn Drake. Not the charity speech Evelyn, not the ribbon-cutting photo. Evelyn, the real one, with a speakerphone voice that cuts like a box cutter. It was 9 p.m., and she was calm in the way only a person who trusts the walls can be, laying out transfers that didn't belong to any soup kitchen, talking about donations flowing through the Harbor Light Foundation into shell vendors with names that sound like sunscreen, checking that audit backups were destroyed because the Atlantic Syndicate's money had a paper trail that could light the whole tower on fire. I stood there with a glass rag in one hand and my phone in the other, counting minutes off the microwave clock in the kitchenette to keep my heart from making noise. And when the door opened, I slipped into a copy room and pressed my back to a printer like it could hide my spine. After she cleared the floor, I found a folder on her desk, Harbor Light. Q3 vetting, and inside were ledgers dressed up like good deeds, wire transfers chopped into confetti so they'd look like a party instead of a pipeline. $31.2 million over 18 months that didn't match the public filings even a little. I knew enough to know the numbers didn't just disagree, they lied on purpose. And when numbers lie, it feels like someone keyed your car while smiling at you. I took photos on Mom's phone because her cloud autosaved called her from Evelyn's office because I needed a witness that wasn't me, and left the building with my stomach trying to exit through my throat. At a bus stop that smelled like rain and gum, I told Mom everything. And she didn't say, hang up or don't. She said, come home now. We sat with that truth like it was heavy furniture, and we were small people replayed the voicemail, where you can hear Evelyn say, the syndicate's Thursday deposit hits Harbor Light and needs to be gone to Kaimara by 10 a.m., zoomed into ledgers until our eyes burned, cried, because something about being right can hurt worse than being ignored. Friday morning, we took the bus to the Coastal Ledger, a newsroom that looks nothing like the movies and still has the same heartbeat, and we found Noah Reed, a reporter with DIY hair and a lie detector, where most folks keep small talk. He took the recorder, took our pharmacy printouts, asked for time, and for 3 days, he called ex-accountants and charity watchdogs, and a banker who owed him a favor mapped the money with arrows on a whiteboard like a storm track. And Sunday night, he said it's real. On Monday, we publish. That should have been enough, right? But Evelyn's wedding was Saturday, with every donor and city official packed into one pew map, and I kept thinking how fast rich narratives get a rinse cycle, how 72 hours is a lifetime in spin time. So I told Mom I needed to speak where it would count. This is a job for adults, she said, and I said if I don't say it in the room, they'll call me a liar in every other room. And she put her palm on my cheek and said, if you go, I go. Wedding day came in bright and expensive. the chapel doors swallowing the hum of camera crews and perfumes that spell out tax bracket. The minister reached the "if anyone has reason" line that's supposed to be ceremonial, and I stepped into the aisle with sneakers that squeaked like honesty. "She can't get married," I said into the mic. She lied. I know who she really is, and the room did that thing where even the rich look small. Evelyn pivoted in silk, and ice lifted her chin like it was a crown, told security to remove the child, and Grant Ellison, the groom with a gala face, tried to touch her arm and got flicked off like a gnat. I kept walking, asked Evelyn if she remembered Thursday at 9 p.m., repeated her audit line word for word, because sometimes you have to pick a lock with the burglar's own key, and then I said the number 31.2 million, and the chandeliers might as well have leaned down to listen. She called it nonsense and slander, and said my mother had been fired for theft, and we were extorting her, and I told her my mother has never stolen a thing. She quit, because we took the truth to the paper then. I held up the little recorder Noah lent me and pressed play into the chapel PA. I wish I could tell you I felt fierce, mostly. I felt the air turn electric as Evelyn's voice filled every corner. Are the backups destroyed? If auditors find Harbor Light linked to the syndicate? We're all going away for a long time. And a senator in the front row stood like his seat bit him, and a phone hit the marble, and Grant took a step back like the altar had converted into a cliff. Evelyn lunged, her own security froze, the crowd surrounded her with their eyes, and I said, "There's more played." The part where she rattled off transfers to Chimera, the dates and amounts wrapped in words like consulting and community engagement, that only makes sense if you never check the ledger, and Noah slipped through a side door with a cameraman and a sound guy, rolled a monitor forward, and pointed to the arrow map like a mechanic showing a leak. Money goes here, then here, then here. That isn't charity. That's cover. And the twist that cut the deepest wasn't even the money. It was the second clip where Evelyn joked about how being Mrs. Ellison would hand her judges and donors and regulators in a neat little guest list. How suspicion would turn into a standing ovation. How no one investigates a bride who funds the gala tables. And you could feel Grant's face change in real time from shock to clarity to something like grief. He grabbed the minister's mic with both hands, said, "This wedding is canceled," in a voice that sounded like a bridge deciding not to collapse, and yeah, that happened. Sirens began like faraway thunder, then nearer, then outside, officers already inside the chapel lining the wall with their hats in their elbows trying to look invisible while witnessing the opposite donors remembered their cars, friends remembered. They forgot to be friends, and the only things that didn't move were the numbers on the screen and my mother's hand tightening around mine like a promise. The rest played out fast statements and cameras, and somebody finally using the word evidence without winking. And when we walked out into heat that tasted like rain, the recorder in my pocket felt warm like a heartbeat I was holding for whoever needed it next. 6 months later, the headlines had become court calendars, 19 indictments, 2 city officials pleading to crimes with names that sound sleepy until you add up what they cost working families. And Evelyn went from a woman whose smile opened doors to a dock number whose meals come on a tray 24 years from a judge who said, "Charity is not a costume." Grant did interviews where he called it a rescue. Noah tucked an award near the coffee machine because he said, "The real prize is the corrected record," and he split the money. 3 ways: a scholarship fund, a real charity that delivers the groceries. It promises, and my mom, who used it to start Open Doors Cleaning, hiring women who know how to polish a lobby into sunrise. Me. I got a scholarship to a school with a cedar library and more books than I knew what to do with. I still wear sneakers. I still carry a small recorder, not to trap people, but to remind myself that courage sometimes needs playback. People ask if I regret saying it at the altar, If a kid should be the one to shatter a room like that, if I crossed a line and I think about it, when the house is quiet, and the ice maker snaps, and the neighborhood dog barks like he's filing a report. And here's the truth that sits in my chest. Public harm done in private gets archived. Public harm confronted in public gets stopped. And if you've ever watched someone in power make a mess with a smile, you know exactly what I mean. I didn't ruin a perfect day. I revealed a cracked one. The music just made the break louder. That's my story, told the way it felt in my bones. And now I want yours. Was I right to interrupt a wedding to expose a crime? Or would you have waited for Monday? Do powerful people get away with too much because we're too polite to interrupt them? Have you ever seen something wrong at work or on your block and stayed quiet because the room felt too big for your voice? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what you would have done. Hit like if you think truth belongs in loud places. Hit subscribe for more real stories told without sugar. And drop 3 words that fit this one best: right, wrong, or complicated.